Omar is making shortbread for 16 people. He has found this recipe on a website. Shortbread serves 8, and there's the grams for butter, caster sugar, plain flour and corn flour. How much of each ingredient will be needed for 16 people? So we don't want to serve 8 people, we want to serve 16 people. So I need to think, well, how do I get from 8 to 16? So 8 times what is 16? So do it backwards. 16 divided by 8 is 2. So I'm timesing by 2. So that's what I have to do to each of these ingredients as well. I have to times them all by 2. So you're keeping everything in proportion with each other. So we're timesing everything by 2. Okay, so we're going to have 150 times 2, which is going to be 300 grams. 75 times 2, which is 150 grams. 175 times 2, if you need to, you can literally just do a little column method or grid method. 5 add 5 is 10, 7 add 7 is 14, 15, 1, 2, so that's 350. And then 50 times 2 is 100 grams. And there's my answers for each ingredient for 16 people. Donna uses this recipe for chili con carne. It serves 6 people. There's a kilogram of mince, 400 grams of tomatoes, 3 chilies and 600 grams of kidney beans. Donna is going to use the recipe to make chili con carne for 15 people. Work out how many grams of mince she needs. Now the first thing I'm going to do is notice that these aren't all in the same unit. So I've got 3 chilies, 400 grams, 600 grams. Now this kilogram I'm going to change so it's in grams, just so we've got a bit of consistency and we're not going to end up with any decimals at some point. So we've got 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams. So I'm just going to change that and I'm going to put 1,000 grams there instead. Okay, so now I'm just going to demonstrate this using a bar. So I've got a bar of 6 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I want 15 people. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I need to think, how do I get from this 6 to here? Or what's a nice way to get to that? So I'm going to think of the number that goes into both 6 and into 15. Now I could use 1, but I'm probably going to get some nasty numbers and nasty calculations, because if I did 400 and I divided by 6 to figure out what goes into each one, I'm going to get probably a bit of a nasty number there. So what other number goes into both 6 and 15? Well, that's 3. So if I demonstrate it here using this bar, so if I figured out how many ingredients were for 3 people, then I could times it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get 15. Okay, so we're firstly going to go to 3 people and then we're going to go up to 15 people. So this 3 is a number that goes into both. So to get to 3, I'm dividing by 2, and to get to 15, I'm timesing by 5. So let's do that. So 1,000 divided by 2 is 500 grams, times by 5 is 2,500 grams. 400 divided by 2 is 200 grams, times by 5 is 1,000 grams. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5 chilies. 1.5 times 5, just do a little grid if you need to, 1.5 times 5. So 1 times 5 is 5, and then 0.5 times 5 is the same as saying a half times 5. So a half times 5 is 2.5. So altogether you've got 7.5. so 7.5 chilies. And then 600 divided by 2 is 300 grams. Times by 5 is 1,500 grams. So there's my ingredients for 15 people. Shane uses the same recipe, but he uses 1.2 kilograms of tomatoes. Now remember, the first thing I'm going to do is change this 1.2 kilograms to 1,200 grams. Remember, there's 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams. So to get from kilograms to grams, I need to times by 1,000. So 1.2 times by 1,000. I could use my place value table if I needed to. It's 1,200 grams. Okay, I'm just going to erase the working out for the previous question. Okay, so this time we've got 1,200 grams of tomatoes. So this has become 1,200 grams. So I need to think, well, what did I do to get from 400 to 1,200? So 400 to 1,200. What did I times by? You probably know. I need to do it backwards. 1,200 divided by 400, which is the same as saying 12 divided by 4, which is 3. So I've times by 3. So that's what I've got to do for every single ingredient and every single serving. So 6 times 3 is 18 people. The question actually just says, how many people is Shane making chili con carne for? So my answer is 18. I don't even need to figure out the rest of the ingredients. Now if you have a calculator, you can do a question far easier. So here's a recipe for bolognese sauce. And it says that Joe only has 400 grams of beef. So we've got 400 here. How much of the other ingredients would she use? So with a calculator, you'd simply go, right, I need to go from 500 to 400. So 500 times what is 400? Do it backwards. 400 divided by 500, that will end up with 0.8 or 4/5. So you need to times everything by 0.8, and you would just do that on your calculator. So 750 times 0.8 is 600 grams. 40 times 0.8 is 32 grams. And 150 times 0.8 is 120 grams.